Imagine for a second that you're spending tens of thousands of dollars to create this perfect, highly delicate biological package.
Right, like in a state-of-the-art laboratory.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, it takes months of preparation, incredibly precise timing, just immense emotional energy.
Oh, massive amounts of
Yeah,
energy.
yeah. And then when it's finally time for delivery, you just drop this precious package onto like a dirt road that hasn't been repaired or watered in months.
It sounds totally absurd when you put it like that.
Right.
Oh,
Sounds
fuck.
ridiculous. But today, we're looking at how a massive blind spot in modern medicine often does exactly this.
Yeah, and more importantly, how one specific framework is just completely rewriting the rules to fix it.
Which is exactly why today's deep dive is so vital. Welcome in, everyone. Our mission today is to explore a masterclass in integrative problem solving.
And we're focusing specifically on the pioneering work of the Berkley Center for Reproductive Wellness.
Yes. And I want to say right up front, even if you aren't currently navigating the world of fertility or, having kids isn't remotely on your radar, stick with us.
Definitely, because it's about so much more than that.
It really is. What we are unpacking today is basically a blueprint for how two vastly different approaches can actually collaborate.
Right, like an approach that is thousands of years old working with one that relies on ultra-modern laboratory science.
Exactly. To solve incredibly complex biological challenges.
Okay.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Where does a radical shift like this actually begin?
Well, I mean, it almost always begins with a personal crisis, right?
Yeah, that seems to be the trend.
It does. So the Berkley Center was founded by Mike Berkley. He's a licensed acupuncturist and a board-certified herbalist.
But his journey didn't start in, like, a medical library or anything.
No, not at all. It started in the crunches of severe infertility. He and his wife were facing this truly daunting combination of physiological barriers.
Barriers that conventional medicine was just really struggling to overcome. I want to dig into those barriers, actually.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because they weren't just dealing with a minor hurdle here. They were dealing with significant issues on both sides of the equation.
Right, male and female factor.
Exactly. So he had poor sperm morphology and motility.
Right.
And his wife had anti-sperm antibodies.
Which is quite the combination.
It really is. For those of us who aren't reproductive endocrinologists, what is actually happening at a cellular level there?
I mean, it's basically a physiological perfect storm. So let's start with morphology and motility.
Okay.
Morphology refers to the physical structure of the sperm. So if the head is misshapen or, the tail is structurally compromised.
This is not going to work.
Exactly. It physically cannot penetrate an egg. And then motility is the movement.
Right, how well it swims.
Yeah. Instead of swimming forward with purpose, the cells might swim in circles or just barely move at all.
Oh, wow. So right out of the gate, the delivery mechanism itself is fundamentally broken.
Precisely. And then on top of that, you introduce anti-sperm antibodies.
Right, his wife's condition.
Yeah, this is where the female partner's immune system essentially goes rogue.
Goes rogue how?
Well, it misidentifies the sperm as a dangerous foreign pathogen, like it thinks it's a virus or a bacteria.
Oh, I see. So it attacks it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The immune system dispatches macrophages to attack and bind to the sperm, effectively neutralizing them before fertilization can even be attempted.
Man. So you have a weakened delivery system walking straight into like a hostile, hyperactive immune defense?
It's a biological fortress, and standard conventional routes were just failing them.
Which makes sense, right? Because throwing standard hormones at an immune system issue doesn't solve the core problem.
Right. It's treating the wrong thing.
So out of options, they make this huge pivot. They turn entirely to acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine.
Which you have to remember at the time was considered an incredibly unconventional leap.
Oh, for sure. But the crazy part is the biological remodeling worked.
It really did. Within months of utilizing these traditional modalities, his wife conceived.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they had a healthy son who is actually 29 years old today.
See, I keep thinking about this like a tech founder.
How do you mean?
You know the archetype, right? Someone gets so frustrated with a glaring problem in their own daily life that they go out, learn to code, and build a revolutionary new app just to solve it.
Oh, right. Yeah, totally.
Only here, the stakes aren't, a smoother workflow software. The stakes are the actual creation of human life.
It's a massive difference in stakes.
It begs the question, though, does experiencing the trauma of infertility make someone a fundamentally different kind of practitioner?
I think it changes everything about the clinical environment. I mean, his empathy is lived, right? It's not learned from a textbook.
Right.
When a patient sits across from him and details the profound despair of a failed IVF cycle, he knows the exact texture of that heartbreak.
Because he's been there.
Exactly. And that deeply personal drive is what pushed him to go to the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine in New York.
He spent, what, 4 years there?
4 grueling years mastering acupuncture, yeah. Followed by 2 more years studying complex herbal medicine.
Wow.
And then he opened the Berkley Center in 1998, right in Midtown East Manhattan.
I have the address here, actually. It's 16 East 40th Street on the 4th floor.
Right, and he opened it as the very first practitioner in the United States to specialize exclusively in fertility.
And that focus is what really sets this apart for me.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if you go to a standard acupuncturist, they might be treating a sprained ankle at 9 a.m., right?
Yeah, and then a migraine at 10 a.m.
Exactly. And then trying to help with your fertility at 11 a.m. But Berkley has dedicated 100% of his 27-plus years of practice solely to reproductive wellness.
And when you focus intensely on one single complex system for nearly 3 decades, you stop looking at
What
symptoms.
do you see instead?
You start seeing the underlying biological architecture. And this leads to his overarching philosophy.
Which is integrating time-tested traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, with Western-assisted reproductive technologies.
Right, like IVF and IUI.
But how does that collaboration actually work in practice?
That's the big question.
Because, as we established earlier, these two fields have historically looked at each other with a lot of suspicion.
Yeah, there's usually a stark dividing line. You don't usually see ancient herbalists and highly clinical Western reproductive endocrinologists enthusiastically tag-teaming a problem.
No, you really don't.
But that is the paradigm shift here. He frequently works in tandem with top-tier physicians at major data-driven institutions.
Like Weill Cornell, CNY Fertility, and IVF Florida, right?
Exactly. The best way to visualize this isn't as 2 competing treatments.
Okay, how should we look at it?
Think of it as 2 different phases of a massive logistical operation. So Western IVF is like a high-tech, highly specialized drop shipment.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, because in a lab, they can brilliantly retrieve an egg, fertilize it, monitor its chromosomal development, and physically drop that embryo back into the uterus.
It's a technological marvel, honestly.
It is.
But an embryo isn't just a package you can leave on a doorstep.
Precisely. If that high-tech package is dropped into an environment with poor blood flow, high cellular inflammation, and like a thin, unwelcoming uterine lining.
The drop shipment fails.
Exactly. So TCM is the infrastructure repair. It is the road maintenance, the climate control, the structural foundation.
It's preparing the soil.
Yes. TCM prepares the biological environment so that when the Western clinical drop shipment occurs, the package actually survives and thrives.
Okay, so if we accept that the biological infrastructure needs to be completely rebuilt, what does that construction zone actually look like?
Let's walk through the integrative toolkit.
Yeah, let's do it. First, they rely heavily on acupuncture. But I have to ask,
Go for it.
how does sticking tiny needles into the skin actually change the reproductive environment? I mean, it sounds like magic.
A lot of people think that, yeah.
But there has to be a physiological mechanism at play here, right?
It is pure physiology. It's mostly rooted in the nervous system.
Okay.
Fertility struggles often lock a patient's body into a state of chronic stress, and that activates the sympathetic nervous system.
Which is the fight or flight response.
Exactly. When you are in fight or flight, your body physically constricts blood vessels. It pulls blood away from non-essential organs.
Like the reproductive system.
Right, and sends it to your muscles.
Because your brain literally thinks you need to outrun a tiger, not create a baby.
That is exactly it. So targeted acupuncture stimulates specific neurological pathways that force the body to switch over to the parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest state.
Yes, and this physically dilates the blood vessels.
Oh, I see.
So you are massively increasing the flow of nutrient-rich, oxygenated blood directly to the ovaries and the uterus.
Which creates a thicker, more vascularized uterine lining.
And that drastically increases the chances of an embryo successfully implanting.
That makes so much sense. Which explains why timing is so crucial with this.
Oh, absolutely. They don't just do acupuncture randomly.
No, they offer pre- and post-embryo transfer sessions.
Yeah.
And the thing that blew my mind in the research,
Yeah?
because biology obviously doesn't care about a Monday through Friday business schedule, they offer these transfer sessions at literally any day or time.
It's incredible dedication.
And they even do flexible home visits across all 5 New York boroughs.
Right, so patients don't have to navigate a stressful subway commute immediately after a delicate embryo transfer.
By removing that logistical nightmare, They're actively protecting that delicate parasympathetic state they just work so hard to create.
Exactly. You don't want to immediately throw them back into fight or flight.
Right. Okay, so that's the needles. But then they introduce Chinese herbal medicine.
Yes. And these are custom, bespoke formulas designed to be taken internally.
And the primary goal here, according to the source, is to reduce oxidative stress. Can you break down what oxidative stress actually is? I feel like I hear that buzzword a lot, but what is it literally doing to an egg or a sperm?
The easiest way to think of oxidative stress is like cellular rust.
Cellular rust. Okay.
In our bodies, we naturally produce these unstable molecules called free radicals.
Right.
These molecules are actually missing an electron, so they furiously bounce around trying to steal an electron from healthy cells.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And when they attack delicate reproductive cells like an egg or sperm, they damage the DNA and the structural integrity of the cell.
So they are essentially vandalizing the biological blueprints.
That's a great way to put it. They are vandalizing the cell.
And how do the herbs help with that?
Well, the bespoke herbal formulas are packed with specific biochemical compounds that act as antioxidants.
Oh, okay.
And these antioxidants basically voluntarily donate an electron to the free radicals.
So it neutralizes them.
Exactly. It neutralizes them before they can vandalize the eggs or the sperm.
That's fascinating.
And it's a highly targeted biochemical defense mechanism with virtually no side effects.
That makes the mechanics so much clearer. But here is where my skepticism kicks in a bit.
Let's hear.
My pseudoscience alarm bell started ringing when I read the next part.
The light therapy.
Yes. Alongside ancient herbs and needles, they utilize low-level light therapy, or LLLT.
Right.
And they recommend patients sit under this twice a week to improve egg quality. I mean, how on earth does shining a light on a human body alter the quality of a microscopic egg hidden deep inside an ovary?
It's a completely fair question. And honestly, it sounds like science fiction until you look at the mechanism.
Which is what?
It's called photobiomodulation.
Photobiomodulation. Okay.
So human cells are powered by mitochondria. They're the engines of the cell, right?
Right, the powerhouse of the cell, like we learned in high school.
Exactly. And the currency those engines produce is called ATP, which is pure cellular energy.
And a human egg is the largest single cell in the human body, isn't it?
It is. So it requires a massive amount of energy to undergo the incredibly complex process of dividing and developing into an embryo.
Just a massive energy draw.
Massive. But as a patient ages, their mitochondria become less efficient.
The engine starts sputtering.
Exactly. And ATP production drops. This is why older eggs often fail to develop properly.
They literally run out of energy halfway through the process.
Yes. So low-level light therapy uses specific, calibrated wavelengths of light that can actually penetrate the tissue.
Deep enough to reach the ovary.
Yes. And when that specific light hits an enzyme in the mitochondria called cytochrome C oxidase, it physically kickstarts the engine.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. It rapidly increases ATP production.
So it's not just a warm, relaxing light. It is actively recharging the cellular battery of the egg.
That's exactly what it's doing. You are giving that older egg the biochemical energy it needs to successfully divide and grow.
The juxtaposition of that is just wild to me.
How so?
Well, you have a patient who is drinking a bespoke formula of ancient herbs, grounded in thousands of years of observational tradition,
Right.
while simultaneously sitting under a modern laser light therapy machine to stimulate mitochondrial ATP production.
It's the ultimate convergence of two different eras of human knowledge.
It really is.
And it highlights why this framework is so successful. It is a completely synergistic approach.
Because the light therapy recharges the battery, the herbs protect the cell from rust, the acupuncture builds the vascular highway to deliver the nutrients.
And the Western doctors provide the high-tech drop shipment of the embryo. Every single tool is deployed strategically.
And they don't even stop once you get a positive pregnancy test, which I found really interesting.
Right, the postpartum and miscarriage prevention.
Yeah, they have specialized protocols for miscarriage prevention specifically through the first 13 weeks of pregnancy.
Which is so crucial because roughly 90% of miscarriages occur in that incredibly vulnerable first trimester window.
And they also cover things like libido enhancement, postpartum care, and they even offer telemedicine consultations for patients nationally and internationally.
By the way, their clinic hours are super accommodating too. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Which, again, all circles back to reducing the friction of the process.
Absolutely. If you can consult with an expert from your living room or go in on a Saturday, you are minimizing the chronic stress that creates the very physiological barriers you're trying to treat.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the framework and the biology.
Yeah.
But let's look at what happens when the rubber really meets the road.
The outcomes.
Right. How does this integrative toolkit translate into actual human lives?
Because if you're listening to this, you want to know if all this intricate infrastructure repair actually yields a baby.
Exactly. And there's a specific patient story in the source material that I think perfectly encapsulates everything we've been discussing.
Oh, the couple with advanced maternal age.
Yes. They were categorized as advanced maternal age and had been through multiple failed IVF cycles.
Right.
They were dealing with poor egg quality, and they were likely at the point where a clinic might just suggest giving up.
And that is often the darkest point in the journey.
I can't even imagine.
Multiple failed cycles don't just drain your bank account, They drain your hope.
Yeah.
Your body has been pumped full of hormones, you've experienced profound emotional whiplash, and you're basically told your biology simply isn't cooperating.
But they decided to try Berkeley's integrative model.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting. I want to emphasize something important here.
What's that?
They didn't just do an acupuncture session on a Tuesday and go in for an egg retrieval on a Thursday.
No, not at all.
They worked with Berkeley for 5 months. I really want to pause on that timeline for a second.
It's a key detail.
We live in a society that expects a pill to fix a biological problem in 20 minutes.
Right.
5 months of preparation before attempting another retrieval. I mean, that is
Yeah.
a massive commitment.
It is a massive commitment, but that is the timeline required for fundamental biological remodeling.
You just can't rush it.
No, you cannot rush the maturation of a follicle or the neutralization of systemic inflammation or the rebuilding of a robust, highly vascularized uterine lining.
It takes time.
You're essentially turning a barren field into a lush garden, and, that takes seasons, not days.
And the patients paid off. After that 5-month remodeling period, their next IVF retrieval yielded 6 eggs.
Wow.
3 of those developed into chromosomally normal blastocysts.
That's a huge turnaround.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that ultimately resulted in a successful, healthy pregnancy.
That's incredible.
The patient even explicitly credited the warmth, knowledge, and collaboration of the clinic for making the impossible possible.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, when you dive into the broader community feedback,
Like the reviews.
yeah, their reviews on platforms like ZocDoc and Yelp echo this constantly.
They really do.
Patients don't just praise the attentive bedside manner, which is great, but they praise the measurable, objective outcomes. Achieving measurable success after repeated, clinically documented IVF failures is the ultimate validation of this model.
Absolutely.
And this is exactly why those prominent Western reproductive endocrinologists endorse Berkeley so strongly.
Because he gets results.
Because he gets results, and he is fluent in their clinical language.
Right.
He understands blastocyst grading, chromosomal abnormalities, retrieval protocols.
But he applies the ancient grammar of holistic cellular health to ensure their modern interventions actually work. He is the ultimate translator.
He really is.
So what does this all mean for you listening?
It means there's a different way to approach this.
Exactly. More than 25 years after its founding, the Berkley Center isn't just a niche clinic in New York.
No.
It is a proof of concept for the future of medicine. It's not just about needles or herbs. It's a holistic partnership grounded in lived empathy, rigorous biological science, and ancient wisdom.
And if you are curious to explore this specific integration further for your own journey, they make it incredibly accessible.
Yes, they do.
You can schedule a consultation directly at berkleycenter.com or just reach out by calling 212-685-0985.
I mean, whether you're navigating the often lonely path to parenthood yourself, or you're simply fascinated by medical innovation, it's just such a beacon of possibility.
It really is. Navigating the path to parenthood can be one of the most isolating and complex challenges a person can face.
Yeah.
But what this clinic demonstrates is that when profound hope is backed by a truly integrative, comprehensive medical framework, it breaks down the walls of what we thought was possible.
It fundamentally reshapes how we approach the limitations of the human body.
Exactly.
And I want to leave you with a thought to mull over as we wrap up today.
Let's hear it.
We started by looking at the tension between old and new, East and West. We saw how one practitioner took two supposedly opposed paradigms and turned them into a collaborative superpower. If integrating ancient practices like targeted herbal medicine and acupuncture can measurably alter cellular energy at the mitochondrial level and reverse repeated catastrophic IVF failures,
Yeah.
what other deeply entrenched Western medical challenges might we solve, not by inventing yet another new synthetic drug, but by humbly partnering with a 3,000-year-old tradition?
That's a fascinating question.
Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.